I know I said I was working on a Drag Race X Pokemon video, but Pokemon TCG Pocket came out before I finished it, and my friends were like, yo Tofu, ever think about ranking TCG artwork as a professional artist and all that? And I was like, you know, I have not, but that sounds like a great idea. So here we are. Pokemon TCG Pocket is a brand new app that lets you collect Pokemon cards made specifically for this app, battle in a way specifically for this app and not like the normal TCG battles, and apparently trading is coming soon, but it's not out yet. I don't know how I feel about it as an app just yet, but the artwork, the immersive cards, love that. Let me know what you guys think about the app. And obviously let me know if you like this kind of video. Now I've done this one, I'd almost certainly like to rank the Surging Sparks artworks when they're officially out, but you're gonna have to tell me, otherwise I won't know. We're not going to do every art in this video because that would be like 200 odd artworks, and A, I do not have time for that, and B, besides the art rares, I think most, if not all of the basic cards are art repurposed from previous sets. Like this is definitely, I want to say, Jungle Primate, and is this a Shining Legends Mewtwo maybe? I know I've seen a ton of these artworks before. And while I love seeing especially the older arts repurposed for something new, if I want to rank those, I'll do the sets they come from at a later date. Oh, and we won't be doing the full arts because, to be honest, I find the really standardized versions of Pokemon that we always see in the full arts kind of boring. So today we'll be doing the art rares, the special art rares, the trainers, because I think that they're new art. I'm like 90% that that's all new art, and the immersive special rares. So in card order, starting with Bulbasaur. Oh my gosh, what a start. So freaking cute. Love the color choices, her soft, almost watercolorness of it, how dynamic the leaf shadows make it, and how surprisingly immersive it is for something that isn't one of the fancy immersive cards, down to like that distinct layered shadow in the top right. I see something new every time I look at it. So weirdly, I think we're starting off strong with an S tier. Gloom. No line work in this one. Love the painterly style, but there's a yellow hue over all of it, which I get is meant to be because of the sun rays, but it kind of adds a muddiness to the colours. The Ratta's face in the background is a highlight for sure. C. Lost some points for the colours. Pinsir. This just honestly doesn't excite me. I get what they were going for with the sketchy lines, but the colours are bland and it's not my jam. Some action lines and dynamic colours probably could have gone a long way here. E, I think. It's not bad drawing, don't get me wrong, I'm just all meh about it. Oh my god, this Charmander is so freaking cute. I want to take him home. Look at those little eyes. They look like so full of hope, I think. So good. Also, technically great. Love the color choices. How that dark sky blue really contrasts, but also brings out the orange in Charmander. The fact that the grass green and the tree green has one dull and then one vibrant, but they're both working together so well. The glowing, the stars, all around magical. S tier. This Rapidash was the first good hit I got, and my favourite thing about it is because of the colour choices for the petals work so well with the hollow border. I like really thought that each hollow border was going to be slightly custom, like at least in colours. But no, that's not a thing, but that is my favourite thing about this card. It really makes it feel complete. Also great choice of action lines, A tier. Making Squirtle sparkle is a great choice. Adorable, great colours, love the softness, no complaints, A tier. Although I realise that this and Bulbasaur are basically the same kind of vibe / art, like even with the colours that they're choosing. So I think I jumped the gun on Bulbasaur and need to move it down to an A. This fucking Gyarados, man, the colours doing so much considering it's 90% fucking blue. The loading Hyper Beam, which is the literal move on the card, the little Magikarp and the SSN, just absolutely everything in this image, bar the carp and the ship, being so angry looking. The waves are angry, the lightning looks angry, Gyarados is obviously angry because he's always angry, but this card is so good, S tier. And then we're following up with an Art Nouveau Lapras with a surfing Pikachu in the background. Are you kidding me? Have we ever had an Art Nouveau Pokemon card before? I can't think of one off the top of my head, but I love it. S tier because it's so different, and I again love the fact that it's doing so much despite a 90% blue color palette. Considering you have so little to work with Electrode, this is pretty great. I think it was a clever and great idea to include multiple electrodes and a Voltorb so they can bounce off each other. Love that the whole thing is basically a little Easter egg with the work office and Zapdos in the background because it's like obviously the power plant. So I assume the move they're using is Explode, because that's what happens when you run into a Voltorb or Electrode in the power plant in red and blue. Great colour choices with the blues and yellows combining to make the greens for the office instead of grey. That's way more fun. Love the choice of disconnected lines around Electrode to imply movement and instability. stability. Really the only thing letting this card down is the actual Pokemon, so B tier. I don't really understand any world where this Alakazam would be anything but an S tier. This fucking artist, dude, a master. For those of you who can't quite place it, this is, I'm gonna butcher this name, but I'm really sorry about that. This is Akira Egawa. Egawa? I think it's Egawa. Yeah. Right, yeah, no, I'm learning Japanese. I think that's how those symbols would come together. Egawa. Anyway, they did the Charizard EX from Paldean Fates, the Charizard EX from Obsidian Flames, this fucking Mewtwo from 151 that went too hard for a small card. I think all of the gold stars from Crown Zenith. Anyway, they're basically always perfection. I could cry at the use of lines and colors. Red, yellow and blue, but in every shade other than the fucking primary colors. Genius. S tier. An extended version of an artwork we already know. This Slowpoke is an example of exactly what I hope we see more of in the future of Pokemon Pocket. The artwork itself though is obviously very simple, but my issue with it is twofold. One, it's very bottom left heavy for some reason, and two, I think there might actually be too many Slowpoke in it. We kind of lose the working with one brain cell vibe that this tiny Slowpoke in a big open blank landscape gave us. D tier as it is, but I do want to see more extended arts. Again, the composition of this Diglett is just giving me problems. The actual box where we would normally see a Pokemon is actually just filled up with background, like not a single Diglett in there. And then we end up being very bottom heavy, but like all the Diglett action is going on where the text is. Love the idea, but I think there's a better version of this art out there where the underground Digletts just simply fill up more of the image and start higher than halfway down. E tier. This Cubone is like the new and improved jungle set Cubone. Love it, the colour's great, the emotion is great, it's both nostalgic and different, and I love the painterly style. A tier. The lighting on this Nidoqueen is chef's kiss. Mwah. And the rocks, beautiful card, but kind of strange that the things that are really making this card aren't the Pokemon actually in it. Stunning, but B tier just for that alone. I feel like this Nidoking art would have been a perfect candidate for the TCG art contest. Pretty sure the theme was something like capturing the beauty in the small moments of, or everyday moments of Pokemon or something like that. Very nice card, just nothing special about it. C tier. This Golbat is exactly what I expect from Komiya as an artist. I love how even the nothingness of Golbat's huge mouth looks like a black hole drawing me in. No notes, only a B tier because I wish they'd given them a Pokemon that I like more. It's my tier list, what can I say? There is something about this Weezing that gives me the physical ick. I think it's the combination of like the Pokemon, the actual motion that Pokemon is doing, breathing in all of that smog. The color palette kind of reminds me of vomit or shit, like quite literally. And then the actual art itself is like almost too neat. There's no line work, but the lines are so crisp. I think it's sitting kind of in like an uncanny valley of sorts. Like it's probably portraying what the artist wanted to portray very well. It's just also making me physically very uncomfortable. So E tier just for the feels. I love the sky and the boats in this Dragonite card. The color choices, all around perfect, but the actual Dragonite I'm kind of not here for. There are some things that are just kind of wrong about its design. Like the wing is really long and skinny, but that's not how Dragonite's wings are. And weirdly I feel like we should be able to see the other eye as well at like that angle. Like if I was drawing it and like circled it, I feel like I'd definitely at least be able to see a slither. I don't know, something looks off, which would be fine if the rest of the card wasn't so perfect, like so good. So D tier because the actual Pokemon is the worst part. This Pidgeot is dynamic and fun, and I love the choice of blue for the shadows, and that the shadows are lined. Having lined shadows is one of my favorite art style choices. If I'm taking time with a piece of artwork, like if I'm doing it because it's for a friend or because I really love it, or if I'm being paid for it, then I always line my shadows. I just love it so much. It really makes them pop, I think. The only thing that's throwing me off is the choice of green for the trees. I personally would have chosen something with a bit more blue in it to align with like the rest of the choices in the artwork. B tier because the pros outweigh the cons. The more I look at this Meowth, the more I like it. I love the sketchy lines. I love that the night sky is actually black to accentuate the moon lines. The purples of the shadows and how they perfectly complement the yellow choice of the light. The little added sparkles, which I assume are meant to be coins on the ground. It's comfy with all the right choices. A tier. Ah, angry little dittos, look at them. But then like also the Caterpie is a ditto, and I didn't realize that until I was looking at the card for this video. And the leaves are dittos. Have we ever seen a ditto transform into everyday objects? Either way, the color choices are great. I love the paper-like texture over everything. If I'm splitting hairs, I'd move everything up just a little bit, but that's about it. The thing that moves it down for me is simply the color choices. Technically great, but they just don't bring me personally joy, so beat it. This fucking Eevee is giving me such bad deja vu. I swear I've seen this artwork before, or at least very similar. Maybe like on a card sleeve somewhere or something? Sao Sao's artwork, or So or Sao Sao, somebody please tell me. But their artwork is always so homey and comfy, and it's definitely reminiscent of the Espeon that they did for Evolving Skies. I love the overall lilac hues in the lighting, the roundness, the fluffiness, the textures. Maybe just about an S tier. I don't normally put comfy and cute kind of cards in really high ranking things, I'm realizing. But this one is so good, I think it is S tier. I pulled this Porygon the other day, and while it's fun, love the line work and the colour choices and the actual placement of the Porygon. But I cannot for the life of me tell you what is actually happening in this picture. The cakes and the berries and the streamers kind of make it look like a party, but the Porygon is also on a pedestal, like it won something at a fair, but then what is it winning at a fair? Like best Porygon, but then I can't see like a 2 or like a 2nd place or a 3rd place. I'm confused, so C tier. I nearly forgot to include this Snorlax, which probably says a lot. I love the reference, I love the art style, and I'll include the colour choices in the art style because a lot of Pokemon artworks that use this kind of fluffy edged brush have muted colours, and I love the Bellsprout struggling to move him. The Venonat and the Oddish kind of serve no purpose though, I don't really know why they were included, and all in all it's unfortunately quite forgettable despite not technically being bad. D tier. I will say that while I'm not ranking the full arts because the artwork is all very standardized, I do actually prefer most of these to the IRL full art cards that we get. I really enjoy the backgrounds on all of them. They're all very vibrant and have this surprising amount of movement and sparkle to them. Some highlights of the Zapdos for the added lightning and then the extra darkness of the background highlighting the lightning and the main subject. The Pikachu for the perfect pink contrasting the yellow, and maybe the Mewtwo for how the colours in it are making the background kind of look like a galaxy. The rest of them are all just okay at best. Okay, on to trainers. I'm going to rank them in chunks. Somehow none of them match the wow factor of any of the IRL trainer cards I can think of, and I can't quite put my finger on why that is. The Sabrina and the Erica card are by far the best for me, so they can go in A together just because they've again got nothing like pizzazz, they got no pizzazz about them. I don't particularly like the style of colouring in any of the others, but I do like the poses of the Blaine, the Brock and the Koga, so they can go in C. The Giovanni is just bland at best. Like, we've had so many good Giovanni or like big bad guy cards. Like, all of the boss's orders full arts are so much better than this. Maybe a D? And this fucking Misty and Lieutenant Surge, oh my god, I've never actually been so disappointed in a Misty card. Their actual anatomy on their faces looks physically incorrect. That fucking nose placement on Lieutenant Surge, the eye placement and lack of fucking cheeks on Misty. Like, if we compare this Misty to Misty's Determination, which is basically wearing the same clothes just in different colours, like, it's a world of difference. And I cannot believe that this is the first ever full art Lieutenant Surge card that we're getting. It's an actual insult. I'm adding an F tier just for these two. Before we talk about the special art rares, I would like to note, I am not a fan of these borders. They are distracting in the worst way, I think. Having said that, If we ignored them, this Moltres art is beautiful. I love how in all of the 3 legendary bird cards there's like a little Pokemon by the text. The way the Moltres is literally lighting up the entire image, and the contrast to the little black makes all the colours really pop. I love the pose, I love the composition, the actual fire is very well done. I think S tier, really, really well done. I love the real like painterly watercolour kind of texture of the feathers on this Articuno. Having that really subtle lilac glow behind is a really great choice for making the colours pop without the use of bright lightning. They've done a lot considering their choice of making it a cloudy day. Just very lovely all round. S tier again, especially for the technical skill in making this such a beautiful card with bad lighting. Because cloudy days are bad lighting. Does that make sense? This Zapdos is my least favourite of the birds, but for a really specific reason. Alright, so the blue lightning that the artist has chosen to use means that when they've highlighted the beak, they've used a single white line across the edge of the beak, like across the middle of the edge of the beak, where the top beak and the bottom beak separate. Great choice zoomed in. Zoomed out though, it looks like Zapdos is like smiling a toothy grin. Like it's giving me the same creepy vibes as the heron from The Boy and the Heron. And no matter how good the rest of the image is, I just can't shake that creepy feeling. So maybe a D tier just for that alone. This Gengar, perfect. Simple but effective. Limited colour choice really works in its favour, A tier. Another fantastic Eggoar artwork in this Machamp. I think unfortunately, because I have direct comparison with the Alakazam though, that doesn't quite work in its favor. I think it's literally the choice of having the ground as the background instead of the sky. It's just giving us a slightly less dynamic card. There's less movement in it maybe. And I really enjoyed in the Alakazam how that bright blue, like bright light blue very specifically, made all the other colors stand out. I think it was more effective at making them stand out than the yellow is of this background. So a very high A tier all the same. Like a really great card. It's just like I have a direct comparison. And this Wigglytuff is the perfect encapsulation of what it's like in my mind, like a real 80% of the time. Great color choices, much cute, much kawaii. Technically nothing special, but B tier just for the vibes alone. And then finally, we have our big 3 and secret interactive card rares. I say secret rare because the Mew you unlock by collecting every other card. So I don't really think that people knew about it as a card until like a little bit later on. Well, I say that the app's been out for like what, a week, less than a week, something like that. But you get my point. People didn't know about this card initially. I think for these, I'm just going to go from least favourite to favourite though. So starting with least favourite, probably the Charizard. Like they're all good, don't get me wrong. I love the vibrant colours and all the different Pokemon included, but I was more excited by all the other Pokemon than the actual Charizard. So B tier. Then the Pikachu, it's kind of the same but different. Not enough Pikachu, too many other Pokemon, but I love the art style more, and the actual still image of the Pika on the rock looking back I prefer more than the Charizard image, so A tier for that. This Mew is so freaking cute. We go on a full little journey with him. Being in the cave even made me like a little tense in comparison to how cute and light and fluffy everything else is. Probably the best cute vibes of the set. In fact, is the best cute vibes of the set, S tier. And then finally, and obviously S tier, is the damn Mewtwo. Okay, I was like a little bit tense going into the cave with the Mew, but the music with this Mewtwo and the darkness, I was actually on the edge of my seat once we were like past him. Like, what are we going into this dark ass building for? And then of course the reward is that moment when we realise that we're witnessing the moment Mewtwo breaks out after being created, and there's all the shimmers of that broken glass, and it's, oh, chef's kiss, mwah, mwah, mwah. Perfection, love it, obviously S tier. And that's the full list. Let me know if there's any that you think I got really wrong. What's your personal favourite card on this set? I'd love to hear. I promise that the Drag Race Pokemon video is being worked on. We are getting there with it. It's just taking a lot longer than I thought it would. Plus my health has been like really playing up. So I haven't been able to work as much as I thought I was going to be able to, which is why we're like nearly a month later after the next video. But we're powering through. We're getting there. But yeah, Surging Sparks is going to be released in literally less than a week after this video comes out, so I can't promise that it'll be the next video, especially if this one does well, but it is coming, I promise. But yeah, I hope everybody's well, and I'll see you in the next one.